I'm going to be talking about how you're going to record your data. And first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our website, which, as Eric mentioned, is bit.ly/Monarch monitors. And that's where you're going to find everything you need to know to participate in this project. So that includes a page all about why we're doing this project, a little brief summary of some of what Erica explained. This is also where you will create your community account, which many of you have already done when you registered for this training session. And that is also really important because you need to be logged in when you are going to input your data in our online surveys. And this helps us keep track of who entered what data without having to ask you over and over again who you are. This is also pages where you can register for additional trainings. We do have one more training scheduled in English. So if you feel like you still need to hear from us again, or if you want to share this with your neighbors and your friends, we definitely encourage you to RSVP for that other training. We also will have additional trainings in Spanish. So if you do have people who would like to take this training in Spanish, we do have that option as well. From our website, you can also access that first survey, that survey about your site, and I will show you that as well. We also have a page dedicated to project resources, such as that data sheet that Erica mentioned. We also have results, so you can see results that have already been submitted or as they are submitted throughout the summer. And you can also see a summary of our results from last year and the year before. And this is also where you can get answers to commonly asked questions. So as I mentioned, if you haven't already, please make sure to create a community account. And you can do that by clicking the star or that sign up button. And if you're not logged in, you can also click that sign up button just to make sure that you are logged in with the account you created. So if you haven't already, you can create one with your GitHub, Facebook or Gmail, Apple ID, or at the bottom, you can click create a Hub community account, which will prompt you, as you can see on the right, to create an account with any email address. And I've just highlighted some of the most common options here. As Erica mentioned, there are 2 surveys that you are going to be doing this year. The first survey, you only have to do 1 time per site. So if you're just monitoring the milkweed in your home, you fill out the survey 1 time. If you also want to monitor the milkweed in your neighbor's yard, that would be a second site. Think of it as a separate address. So you would fill out a separate site survey for that, but you only have to do it 1 time per location. And this is where you're telling us about your site as well as what patches you are going to be monitoring. Then from that, you will be given a weekly patch survey. And this is the survey that you submit every week for each patch you are monitoring. So if you are monitoring 2 patches, let's say one in your front yard and one in your backyard, you're filling out the survey for each patch. So that's 2 surveys each week throughout the summer. And generally that is about June through September, but we will let you know when you can stop monitoring. I will also add another plug. As Erica mentioned, we want your zeros. Even if you didn't see any eggs or caterpillars on your milkweed, please still go in and enter in your weekly survey data. This helps us understand what makes a successful patch, knowing when eggs and caterpillars were seen versus when they aren't seen. And it also is an opportunity for you to tell us about other things that you are seeing, such as the other pollinators and insects or other plants that are blooming. So we're learning more about what is happening in people's gardens. So now I will do a live demo and show you our website. So this is our website. Again, bit.ly/Monarch monitors will take you here. As you can see, I've already added our current results. So already we've had 22 sites that have been submitted through the survey, and that has included 39 patches that people are monitoring. And people have already gone out 10 times to monitor. So throughout the summer, you will be able to see these numbers go up. And as I'm scrolling down, we can again see a little bit about our project, the steps for doing this project. So again, you've already joined, you've attended a training. Your next step is to tell us about your site. So when we scroll down, we can see this is where we have that link to go to our site and patches survey. So again, this is the survey you're going to fill out 1 time for your site. And this is where you will tell us your name, your email address, and then a little bit about the location and name of your site. So if you are monitoring multiple sites, this is where you can give it a clear site name that will also help you distinguish your sites. We then ask for your location of your site with your GPS. So you can type in and it will pop up. You can also click on the map itself if you would like to reposition the location. And below that is where you can optionally give your point a label, just as I showed you with Graham's Gardens earlier. This is where you tell us what you would love for that point to say if someone clicks on it. We do ask also for your address. We do not share this publicly anywhere. This is just a confirmation of the site's location, just because sometimes the GPS accuracy isn't great. So that's solely what it's used for and is not shared. We then have some questions that we ask, which is part of the data that we send to MLMP. So this is really important for that data submission. So we want to know if your milkweed garden is privately owned, such as your yard, or if it's somewhere that's publicly accessible, such as a community garden. We also ask you what's found within your site, so you can check all that apply. And you can also tell us about what is found on the border of your site. And if you do select other, you can add in something else that is found. Then we ask about the type of garden maintenance that is done at your site. It looks like you're almost done, but not quite, because the next step is to tell us how many patches you are planning to monitor. So let's say I have 2 patches, I entered 2, and now new sections have been added to this survey, 1 for each patch that I am monitoring. So for my first patch, I'm going to give it a unique name. So as Erica had, front_Y. So again, this is something that helps you know which patch you are going to be monitoring each week. You then tell us about if more than 50% of your plants are in pots or containers, as well as how old your patch is. And then the next step is how many species of milkweed are in your patch. As Erica showed you on that sample data sheet, we do record data by species. So we want to know how many species are in your patch, and you will be entering that data for each species. So if I have 2 species, I will enter that in, and then I will fill out a section for each species. So for each one, you're going to tell us what is the name of that species. We have some of the most common ones here that you can select. But if you have an additional milkweed species, you can always select other, and you can enter in that other name. Then we ask you to tell us how many plants of the species did you select, how many plants did you count? So that's where you can enter here. And if you do know, but you can enter the date that the milkweed emerged. But if you don't, no worries there. And then when you're ready, you can hit submit. The last thing I want to point out is that as we mentioned, we do want to encourage this project to be done in Spanish. So if you do want to complete this survey in Spanish, you can click on the English label up top and change the language to Espanol, and then the whole survey will be translated in Spanish. So once you're ready, and I'll show you an example. Here's a completed survey that I've already filled out. I've given it my name. I've told it that it's at the Field Museum. I have filled out all information. I have 2 patches I'm monitoring. I've got the East Butterfly Milkweed patch, and then that has 2 species of milkweed, a butterfly milkweed, as well as some common milkweed. And then in my second patch, I have, I'm calling it West Swamp Milkweed, and this only has 1 species of milkweed, swamp milkweed. And this time I actually wanted to submit a photo. So again, we asked for your permission that you would submit this photo. If you agree to that we can use it, then please click yes and then upload a photo. And as we mentioned, we love the photos. So we do encourage you to submit that, and we can share it with all of the other participants and visitors to our website. So once you've hit that submit button, you're going to get an email, and it's going to look similar to this. Basically, it's going to tell you that thank you for participating. Again, because you're doing this for each site, this is going to tell you about the site you just submitted, including the site name and the location. And then it's going to tell you about each patch that you are monitoring. So as I showed you, I have 2 patches that I am going to be monitoring. I've got my East Butterfly Milkweed patch that has 20 butterfly milkweed plants and 10 common milkweed plants. And I also have my West Swamp Milkweed patch that has 15 swamp milkweed. So this is the link that you're going to use to access your weekly monitoring survey. So when I click that link, it will open up. If you get a message saying that I can't find it, or if you are prompted to log in, please make sure to log in with that community account that you previously created. And if you are having trouble accessing the survey, you can always email us, again, monarchs@fieldmuseum.org, to let us know that you are having trouble, and we can work with you to make sure that you have access to the surveys. So it's time to do my weekly monitoring of that first patch, that East Butterfly Milkweed. So I'm going to tell it what day I monitored, the time I started and stopped, if you did record that. It'll automatically fill in the different species of milkweed. So this is the benefit of clicking on that link. It's already filling in some of that information. So it remembers that I have 2 species of milkweed, butterfly milkweed, of which last count I had 20. If that did change, please make sure to change that here. And then I'm going to say if I saw any eggs on that butterfly milkweed. So if I did, it's going to ask me how many eggs I counted. And then it's going to ask if I counted any caterpillars. And if I did, it will ask how many of each stage I counted. And we'll talk about the different stages of caterpillars in a little bit. But you only have to enter it for the fields that you found it in. So if you saw a first instar, you just enter 1 and you're all set. We also optionally can tell us if you saw any pupae or chrysalises. We don't expect you to find them. They are often difficult to find, but then every year we're surprised by how many people actually do find them, and we get photos of them, which are really amazing. Because this patch has 2 species of milkweed, I have to go in and fill that information out for my second species, which is my common milkweed. So last time I counted 10 plants. If that's still the same, you can keep that as is. And if you didn't count any eggs this time, you can say no. Same with caterpillars. And then also for pupae. The next section is that monarch rearing. And as Erica mentioned, we really encourage you do not collect the caterpillars, but as per the MLMP protocol, and again, that's what we're submitting our data to, we do ask if you did, and if you did, to tell us which stages you collected. So this is just really important for that data submission, but preferably you are not collecting any monarchs from this patch that you are surveying. As Erica mentioned, we have that July monitoring section. For the most part, you're just going to ignore it. It's automatically going to say, no, there's nothing you have to do. But one time in the month of July, so just for one time you're filling out this survey, you will change your answer to yes. And as Erica showed, you're going to tell us where that milkweed is located in your patch. And you're also going to say, what is the closest shape of your patch? So if it is a circle, then we're going to ask you, what is the diameter fully across your patch in inches? If it's an oval, you can give us the longest side and the shortest side. Similar for square, just measure just one side, and rectangle, just give us the length and width. All of those are in inches, and then we can use that to calculate the area. Next is that optional monitoring section that Erica mentioned. So this is where you can tell us about any adult monarchs or other pollinators that you saw. So if you saw some adult monarchs, you can tell us how many. If you saw other pollinators, you can also check those and tell us what you saw. Same thing for other insects and spiders. And then we ask you about other plants that are blooming in your patch. We ask that you list that. You don't have to know the scientific name of them, but please just list them by type and then enter a comma after each so that we can keep track of how many different plants were in your patch. So for example, here you could say lilac, comma, strawberry, comma, etc. And lastly, we ask you if you would like to submit a photo. Again, we love photos. So if you would, you can just click that yes button and then you'll be prompted to upload a photo. And then you can also share a story from your monitoring. So what did you observe? What did you see? What did you enjoy? What is a little anecdote? And we will be sharing some of these photos and stories with people through our newsletter. So when you are done, you click submit, and then you will receive another email. And this email is tied to the account that you use to create your community account, that login. So this email gives us a summary of what we submitted. So it says, here's your patch name. This was the date that I observed. This is what I saw. So I still have my 20 butterfly milkweed and my 10 common milkweed. And let's say my total observations, I saw 5 eggs, 1 first instar and 2 second instars. And then it gives me another link for my weekly patch. So this is a link that you can use for next week. So this acts as a summary. It acts as a confirmation. Yes, you did complete your monitoring this week. And you can also click this link next week to use it. And that way, if you did update your number of plants or number of species, that will be automatically changed with this new survey link. So if you click on an older weekly link, those numbers may be older, so you may have to manually change those to match what is currently in your patch.